Hey, we've got breaking news on this edition of Dolphins Today. Miami has worked out an old friend. That's right, Ndamukong Suh visiting Miami. So he could perhaps be a new Miami Dolphins and return to his old stomping grounds. Of course, a force in the middle of any defense at the defensive line position, and has been doing it for years and years and years, but has not found a home in 2023. Could the Dolphins perhaps beef up that interior defensive line? You know, Zach Sieler's been playing tremendous, as has Christian Wilkins. That production's been there all season long. But Raekwon Davis and DeShon Elliott, they haven't been bad, but adding a guy like Ndamukong Suh would certainly be a noteworthy name. Perhaps Chris Grier and the front office have something up their sleeves. So, as always, we'll keep you posted if and when anything happens. And let's get going with even more Dolphin news and rumors on this edition of Dolphins Today. Hey, let's get right into it. The Dolphins have made some significant roster changes ahead of the Week 16 matchup against the Dallas Cowboys with playoff implications on the line, and we are here to break it all down and take a deep dive into exactly what it means and why it's important that the Dolphins are making this move for the final stretch of the season. So here we go, Week 16 on the horizon, Dolphins Cowboys, and it was official yesterday right before we took the air, so wanted to have more time today to take a deeper dive and really dissect exactly what this means. But the Dolphins announced that running back Chris Brooks has been activated off injured reserve, and the ensuing roster move that followed, linebacker edge rusher Jason Pierre-Paul has been waived, and the Jason Pierre-Paul experiment lasted only 3 weeks. He played 5 snaps in total. So you look at that defensive line and the players that have been making the impact and making the play. That was highlighted perfectly on this edition of Hard Knocks, the most recent one. Zach Sieler and Christian Wilkins, salt and pepper. They've been exceptional. Raekwon Davis has also played well. And then on the edge, you've got Emmanuel Ogbah. And remember, Melvin Ingram also signed to this Dolphins roster, still remains on the active roster. But how about the play from the edge? It was so painful to see Jalen Phillips injured, blow that Achilles against the New York Jets. But Bradley Chubb and Andrew Van Ginkel, oh my, have they stepped up. And most recently, Bradley Chubb, the performance he had the second time around against the New York Jets was just exceptional. A little bit more on what this roster move means from Barry Jackson, a Dolphins insider, with Jason Pierre-Paul cut to make room for Chris Brooks. The Dolphins have Cam Good, who's played 20 snaps on Sunday against the Jets, and practice squad addition Melvin Ingram, 6 sacks for the Dolphins last year, as options for that increased depth for the number 4 edge job behind Bradley Chubb. Van Ginkel, of course, your 2 main contributors, and then Emmanuel Ogbah has quietly put together a pretty productive season, kind of playing in behind Chubb and Van Ginkel. So, with that said, I know Jason Pierre-Paul was kind of a big name, and he wasn't here long, but I got to ask you, are you sad to see JPP go? Type Y for yes if you think, hey, man, we didn't give it a chance. He still had some gas in the tank left. Or if you think, man, not a big deal, type N for no. But either way, Jason Pierre-Paul has been waived. And with that, we say goodbye. Let me know in the comments Y for yes if you're sad to see him go, or N for no. Now, I think it's also important to point out that this Dolphins defense is hitting their stride, and that's putting it mildly, because since the return of Jalen Ramsey, since this defense continued to gel under first-year defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, they have become a force and a strength of the Dolphins team. Check this out. Second highest sack per pass play percentage. That's second in the NFL at better than 10%. And only the Chiefs have a higher percentage of sacks per pass play. I know it's a mouthful to say. Work with me here. but that is a testament to how good the defensive line has been, and kind of reinforces the fact that maybe you don't need a guy like Jason Pierre-Paul, or the guys you have are better, and the production would certainly back that up. A few more. 48 sacks this season from the guys up front. In fact, like I mentioned, Zach Sealer, Raekwon Davis, and Christian Wilkins in the middle, especially Wilkins and Zealer, have been exceptional, combined with Bradley Chubb and Andrew Van Ginkel. Sprinkle Emmanuel Ogbah in there. Those guys are getting it done. So, yes, Jason Pierre-Paul had the impressive resume, but I don't think his presence will necessarily be missed. And we'll see how it all works out on Sunday against the Cowboys. That offensive line has allowed 33 sacks this season, which is tied for the 10th fewest. So the Dolphins' defensive line will have their work cut out for them, but how about some momentum to build off of how good they were against the Jets last time out? Yes, they forced the 4 turnovers, very impressive, but a lot of that was caused by the pressure up front. They held the Jets to just 4 yards of total offense in the first half and only 103 for the game, and that's right, 6 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, and they only allowed 80 pass yards. And albeit it was kind of the combination of Zach Wilson, who obviously hasn't been good this year, and touchdown Trevor Siemian. But point being, the Dolphins' defensive line made the life miserable of the opposing quarterback. And we hope to see more of that on Sunday against the Cowboys with Dak Prescott back there. And that falls heavily on the shoulder of Bradley Chubb, who has been having a tremendous season. He did not play so well Monday night against the Titans. He was able to turn the page and put forth his best performance in a Dolphins uniform. In fact, 3 sacks, the forced fumble, one of those he recovered. He was exceptional, and he's one of the X factors for the Dolphins defense if they're going to have success against a high-powered Dallas Cowboys offense. And with that said, there's a lot that goes into the defensive game plan with the Dolphins taking on the Cowboys that we're going to continue to dive in. But first, I got to give a huge shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that, my friends, is Prize Picks. I've been telling you about Prize Picks for weeks. It's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. In fact, it's easy to understand, and with the fantasy season over, now is an even better time to play daily fantasy sports. You simply pick more or less on a player's projected stat, and that's where the fun begins. You got to go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. And speaking of fun, I mean, my goodness, it's the 12 days of Picksmas. How about that? Prize Picks is giving out a special promotion each of the 12 days leading up to Christmas. So we're in the midst of Picksmas as we speak. You got to sign into your app each day to see what's in store, including the Demons and Goblins. This is all new from Prize Picks. You can now make it easier or harder to win up to 100 times with Demons. Yeah, it's a little bit harder to win and statistically less likely, but the 100 times or potentially up to 100 times your money is certainly exciting. It's why Prize Picks is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And here's what I'm working with for Sunday's game against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm picking more on Tua Tagovailoa's projected passing yards at 270.5, less on Dak Prescott's projected passing yards at 276.5, and more with Raheem Mostert's passing yards at 57.5. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, and we love you and we care about you. So we'll put that link right in the description of today's video. I'll give it to you one more time just in case. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Now, Bradley Chubb deserves a lot of credit. I was tough on him, and he shut me up. And I love to see it because he was a force against the Jets, so much to the tune he was named the AFC Player of the Week on the defensive side. So let's show some love to Bradley Chubb. Type those twos in the comments. Show some love. Bradley Chubb, your reigning defensive Player of the Week in the AFC. Shout out to Bradley Chubb. 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. The success of the Dolphins defense, he is such a crucial component to that, and we saw that on full display against the New York Jets. Now, with the increased role on the defense that Bradley Chubb and Andrew Van Ginkel have taken, it allowed the Dolphins to cut Jason Pierre-Paul to make room for Chris Brooks. Chris Brooks is officially activated off IR. He's been practicing for 3 weeks now, and we all saw this coming, but it's a huge addition to a Dolphins backfield that already has a lot of weapons. And Chris Brooks, undrafted free agent rookie out of BYU, not a ton of sample size, not a lot of tread on the tire, if you will. He only played in a couple of games before getting hurt, but in that limited sample size, I think we saw on full display how powerful of a running back Chris Brooks can be. Also in the preseason, he showed a lot of promise. And again, not a ton of statistics to go off of, but that 6.3 yards per carry on 15 carries is pretty impressive. So where does he stack in this talented Dolphins running back room? Obviously, Raheem Mostert is RB1. Devon Achane, I always say, running back 1A because of how good he's been. And Jeff Wilson Jr. has taken some snaps at RB3, but now with the addition of Chris Brooks, I think he adds that extra element in terms of a powerful running back that can pick up tough yards in short yardage situation. And that is where I'm anticipating Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins to utilize Chris Brooks in 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 situations where the Dolphins, quite frankly, have not been very good all throughout the season. Check this out. 50% success rate on 3rd and 1. You might think 50, that's not bad. No, that is not good. On 3rd down, that'd be great, but we're talking 3rd and 1, and that is the 2nd worst in the National Football League, converting just 50% of 3rd down and 1s, and it gets even worse if it's a 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1 situation combined, down all the way to 37.5. And look, we watch every game today together on the watch parties. We've seen Mike McDaniel try to get too creative at times with these 3rd down and 1s and 4th down and 1s. And I think back to a couple of games ago where Tua did a fake sneak and then tried to throw it back to Mostert. It was a fumble. And there's been several times where the Dolphins have 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and can't quite pick it up. So I'm hoping Chris Brooks will be a guy that's utilized in those situations for the Dolphins moving forward. Now, I'm confident in Chris Brooks and the Dolphins' short yardage offense, but I want you to let me know how you feel. Rate it for me in the comments. Your confidence level in Dolphins short yardage offense. Scale it 1 through 10, where 10 you think, hey, we can guarantee it. It's a first down. Or 1 if you think, I need to see more. This team has stunk on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 situations. Let me know in the comments. Scale it 1 through 10. Now, like I said, I think when you add Chris Brooks to the Dolphins running back room, it provides one more thing that defenses have to game plan for. That said, I have loved the way Mike McDaniel has utilized Raheem Mostert for, I'd say, 95% of his role so far this season, and obviously the statistics reflect that, but I'd like to see him utilized in short yardage situations as well. On Sunday against the Jets, there were a couple of 3rd down and 4th down situations in which Mostert picked it up. So let's hope that the Dolphins can continue to be a productive offense in the 3rd and 4th down situations. And for Raheem Mostert, what a year he's having. I wanted to show you guys this just to shed a little love on the breakout season that he's had. Well on his way to 1,000 yards. And take a look at the touchdowns. 18 of them to be exact. And if that sounds like a lot, it is a lot. That is a brand new Miami Dolphins franchise record for the most rushing touchdowns in a season, and there's still 3 games to play, but the 18 touchdowns on the ground for Raheem Mostert passes Dolphins legend Ricky Williams, and Mostert has 20 for the season, 20 total touchdowns. He's got the 2 receiving touchdowns and is well on his way for setting a Dolphins franchise record for most total touchdowns as well with the 20 that he's got. Oh, any way you slice it, you got to show some love to Raheem Mostert. So go ahead and do that now. Type 31 in the comments and show some love to our guy, Raheem Mostert, who has been exceptional this season for the Miami Dolphins and is paramount to the success that the Dolphins offense has had and will continue to have with him in the backfield. Want to remind you as we wrap up to subscribe to the channel for all the latest Dolphins news, breaking news, injury news, as well as team previews and everything else that goes along with our programming here at Dolphins Today. Live watch parties, live shows, and everything in between. You got to subscribe to Dolphins Today.